my name's Reagan. I'm here with Pastor Dean of Crossroads Church here in Franklin Lakes. There's a lot of changes happening here that we're going to be talking about here at the corner of Franklin and Summit. So let's start on a more personal side. What can you tell us about yourself?
Well, thank you, Reagan, for taking this time to interview me, and I hope this is helpful to you out there that are curious about Crossroads Church. I like to think that I'm like most guys or the people, besides the church and serving as its pastor. I have a family, been married to my wife Judy for more than 30 years, my partner in life and ministry, and we have 2 grown children, and we have the privilege of living right here on the church property, which is great. Makes the commute really short. I'm into sports, but I have to lay claim that I've not watched one snap of Giants football this year, which I think I'm better for that, but I am a Giants fan, Yankees fan, and you know I'm into cars. We rolled up in my 2020 Mustang GT, which I modified and drag race.
Awesome. And you were recently renamed Crossroads Church. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So the church on this corner has been in existence about 60 years, and for most of its life it was Franklin Lakes Baptist Church. A group of people saw a need for a church in this area, acquired a piece of property, this great piece of property in the corner here. Initially they had met in the building that's still there existing, we call it the Activity Building. That was the barn that pertained to the parsonage home that they acquired while they built the building we're in. Church had many good years of ministry and serving the community, but found itself a little bit smaller, and before COVID hit, we brought in a consultant, and just to get an outsider's perspective, maybe making some recommendations, and that led to the church making 2 key decisions. One was calling me as their bivocational pastor, meaning I work both outside and inside the church as the pastor, and also to radically replant the church, to consider everything besides God's message and the Word, how salvation works, to all our methods and try to be more effective in the community. The name change came at about the same time. We felt that it reflected our geography, and it a little bit less confusing. We're still Baptistic. We believe in water baptism and what a lot of churches that are call themselves Baptist, but there's also lots of varieties of Baptist, and we felt it was a little bit less confusing, just to mirror our renewed efforts to have a new name change. Same message, but renewed efforts.
And now that you're the pastor of this replanted or renewed church, you work outside of the church too, as you mentioned. What is that like for you?
It's been good. It's hard to completely separate some of the COVID effects we've had, so I've been able to do my outside work without commuting into New York City like I've done for most of my couple decades of career. But I've enjoyed doing both, continuing to do what's familiar and rewarding to me in the area of finance and banking while pastoring the church. So it's been good, but I also am looking forward to when the church needs my full-time attention, to turning that way and being a full-time pastor.
And here's a question that could be a little bit harder to answer. There's many churches not too far from where we're sitting here. What would you say the purpose of Crossroads Church is in this area?
Yeah, so absolutely, you're right to say that there are many good churches around that are faithfully teaching God's Word. But the first thing when someone's to consider a church, and I will suggest at least that we're doing this quote-unquote right, is are they teaching God's Word faithfully? It is tempting and can happen, unfortunately, that we mix in man's ideas that are wrong with God's Word and teaching the Bible, but we're convinced, and we will faithfully, as long as I'm here, proclaim and teach God's Word. So that's one reason for people to be here and for the church to be here. But we're convinced also, again, that the church has a reason to be on this corner and serving its community.
And since you're replanting, rebuilding, and renewing, you're small now, as you mentioned. What reasons would you give for someone to try Crossroads as opposed to an established church?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons comes from experience in my own career. Others may have the same experience, that you're presented with the choice of joining a large established company And with that comes stability, but comes maybe a little stodginess and a little bit of bureaucracy, maybe more than is ideal, or something that's new, a little bit, there's a spark, there's people that are excited about change and making improvements, and I think Crossroads that way, that it's an opportunity for people to be invested in something that's going in the right direction, improving, enlarging, and serving our community in greater ways.
Well, thank you for sharing everything. I hope you guys learned a little bit more about Crossroads. If you've maybe driven by and were wondering what's going on here, we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.